Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Very disturbing. It affects everybody listening. It's targeted to Indiana, a tax that's coming to Indiana, but it also affects Illinois. We'll explain in a second. But first, we get to the text line coming in of our last conversation about $200 being a lot of money. Case saying it seemed like a very little amount of money in the movie Friday, which you reviewed at 8 o'clock, where they needed to obtain that to then get some reefer. So now Carl checked in and said $200 ain't crap now. Back then it was a lot of money. The movie came out 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. He says a 40 was $1.69.
Oh, man.
Oh, good 40. Colt 45, 40. One of my first things I ever had.
Do you know what the price of a 40 is now?
I don't. I haven't had a 40 in a while.
I feel like our listeners will know. Somebody check in with the current price of a 40. I'm sure they'll know.
I bet it's about $17 for a 40 now.
That feels like such a good deal, $1.69. My goodness.
Do you know what a 40 is? You know why they call it a 40?
Well, it's a 40, as they talk about in the movie 21 Jump Street. Ice Cube has to correct Channing Tatum on his pronunciation of a 40.
Yes.
Do I know why?
Amazing you've seen that movie.
It's newer. Do I know why they call it a 40? No, I do not. I assumed it was like 40 ounces of booze.
Correct. That's it. That's all it is.
I'm a big party guy.
Don't overthink it.
I have fun. I go out. I know what's going on.
All right, so terrible news coming to Indiana, in my opinion, and even though this is something that is a bad habit, smoking, so the Indiana lawmakers are pushing through one more tax for Indiana and the $2.4 billion shortfall in the state's budget. Chicago's broke, Indiana's broke, Illinois is broke. They figure out ways to get us there by taxing the hardworking people of the state in some way. For example, here we have all the speed cameras.
Yes.
I got another ticket, by the way. The key is when you drive around the city, I get in the car and I have my phone on GPS, the Google Maps going, and people go, "What, you don't know where you're going? I thought you were Mr. Chicago." I do know where I'm going, but Google Maps will tell you when a speed camera's coming up. You can see it on the scroll.
And you still got a speeding ticket?
It was a quick trip, and it was one of those newer cameras. So I know where they are all in kind of my general area on Irving Park.
It was a quick trip as in you were speeding? You were going so fast?
That's right.
What do you mean it was a quick trip?
I was going to Costco, but I only needed milk. We ran out of milk for Harper. And
I went to Costco? You can't go to Walgreens for that?
It's way cheaper at Costco. But now it's not because it turns out that milk is going to cost me $47 with the $35 ticket added on.
That's awesome.
It's a bunch of crap is what it is. And that's what states and cities do to just hurt the people that are actually need the most help, to be honest, like myself and you.
How much did you say Indiana was over budget by?
They need $2.4 billion as a shortfall.
Okay. I was born in Indiana, lived there most of my life. I say this all the love in the world of the Hoosier State. What are they spending money on to where that is what's happened to their state finances?
I mean, I guess it's probably a lot of it is pensions. That's the problem in Illinois. I think it's more of a multi-billion dollar problem of pensions of people that have city, state jobs or union-type jobs.
It's those damn teachers, I tell you.
The teachers, damn it. All they do is teach kids how to talk and work on the future of people.
Give us a functioning society. This is what we get.
Happy Teachers Week next week, I believe it is.
That's right. Teachers during Class with Kenzie all week long.
So because the $2.4 billion shortfall, they're going to add a $2 tax on cigarettes in Indiana, which is mind-blowing for a lot of reasons. First off, I'm not against people that made millions of dollars and want to grab all their money. Some people are like that. Hey, tax them $1 billion, whatever. If you did something great and you made a lot of money, fine, okay? But why would you tax the people that go into the steel mills and make something and then come out and grab a smoke for some enjoyment at lunch? And smoking is bad. You should stop. I swear I don't like it. And I'm not for smoking when you hear this. It's a bad habit. I had a lot of friends that couldn't kick it. And it's terrible. But if it's your only form of enjoyment, adding $2 on that someone's doing the steelworker job or whatever job, that's tough. That's what I picture smokers, real men and women, go out there and they have a drag, smoke after a hard day's work.
Hence, we don't smoke.
Correct. Someone kindly pointed out, Brian, you're not blue collar. You work behind a desk.
That is true.
It doesn't mean I didn't grow up blue collar.
But it's cultural appropriation now.
I grew up blue collar. I made it.
You're culturally appropriating. It's no different than people that wear like a Native American headdress to a Kansas City Chiefs game.
By the way, I have an Apple Watch, and I hit my stand goal
for
today.
you.
I hit my stand goal today, so I'm standing. I don't just sit behind a desk. I stand here on the air. But I find this appalling. The governor, Mike Braun, and the legislative leaders should be ashamed of themselves in Indiana for adding a tax. The first tax hike on cigarettes, by the way, in 20 years. It affects Illinois because a lot of my friends that smoke here go to the border. That's their weekend activity.
That's a whole trip.
I go, what are you doing? Well, this weekend, you want to go to a Cubs game? Nope, I'm going to Indiana to get cigarettes.
And how long does that take? Well, I'm loading up the car, you see. Multiple trips. It's all I'm doing. I've got a wheelbarrow in my trunk right now.
I've got 4 U-Hauls. This is a lengthy process.
I'm calling it a cargo plane.
But from my understanding, it's that much of a savings. I don't smoke, so it's that much of a savings to go to Indiana to get cigarettes. Now they're adding $2 there, and out-of-staters will probably have to pay that as well, or maybe even more, bringing it back. And I thought, again, my point was, we don't have to grab all the money from rich people, but a $2 tax should go toward rich people hobbies, not from smoking. For example,
we had to Google rich people hobbies because, you see, we're not rich.
I don't know what rich people hobbies are. For example, one is hot air ballooning. So why don't they just do every time a balloon goes up, $2 to the people that do it? If you can go hot air ballooning, you can spare $2.
It just now hit me that in the same way that, like, you know, we work in this industry, and so we know all the drama that happens around us, and teachers, you know, there's scuttlebutt in the teacher's lounge always. I just realized there are people that are wealthy enough that have enough money to where their life is consumed by hot air balloon drama in the hot air balloon community. What a life that must be.
Put a $2 tax on hot air ballooning.
Please.
That's all I'm saying. Also, one more rich person hobby that we had to Google, mountaineering.
What's mountaineering?
Climbing mountains? Mountain climbing? What do they call it in the cave? They call it
Splunking, right?
Splunking. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a bit of an outdoorsman myself.
That goes with mountaineering, which, you know, that's only what a rich person would do is go to a cave to climb inside a cave because you're bored. I guess.
Don't you have to go to the grocery store? Like, by the time I'm through with all the chores I have to do in a weekend, I don't have time to splunk.
So for every splunk, $2. How about doing that?
It'd be fair.
Big game hunting. Big game hunting. Love animals here on the show. Dogs, cats, giraffes, whatever. I know dogs and cats aren't part of big game hunting.
If you're hunting dogs and cats, it's a separate conversation.
And also look out for you're raising a serial killer.
That's right.
How about if you're going to do it and we can't stop you? $2 a giraffe.
I can't fathom being in a position in which I have enough money to, say, own a baseball team or buy a record label or do something like that, and I spend my weekends instead hunting antelope for fun. I can't even imagine getting into that lifestyle.
Chrissy just checked in from 219, Indiana, said Mike Braun, the governor, had a helicopter pad installed in his home in Jasper so he could get to Indianapolis quicker. Okay, tax the helipad. Every time they got to repave the helipad, it's $2.
Wow, a helipad in Jasper, Indiana is a first. That is the one and only they have in Jasper. I did not know that. That is really, it's sad for the taxpayer. It's really funny also.
Thank you for checking in on that one. A lot of people are texting in golfing. And I'm not going to put that on the list because I like golfing.
It's a little too close to home?
Well, golfing isn't necessarily a rich person sport. It really, not anymore. It used to be. But now, you know, us regular folk get out there and hit some balls and it's fun. I'm not going to tax golfing. We're not going to do that. But one other rich person hobby, maybe the number one, was philanthropy.
I didn't know that was a hobby.
See, Case, what that means is you have so much money that it becomes a hobby giving it away.
That sounds awesome. I got to get in on that. And also, who are they giving the money away to? I haven't benefited from that.
Well, you're in that weird place where you're charity, but not enough charity.
I think that's called middle class.
Well, it used to be. So how about every time you give away money, you add $2 more as a tax to philanthropy.
And then Indiana will balance those books in no time.
Exactly. Forget about the cigarette tax. Even though I'm against smoking, do not smoke, kids. Don't do it. It's a terrible habit. And try to quit if you can because we want you here longer. We love you. But if you're going to tax cigarettes, take it away and put it on spelunking or whatever. That would be a nice way to balance the budget, Indiana.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
Well, continuing this conversation that Indiana adding a $2 cigarette tax to help with their $2.4 billion budget shortfall. this was put through legislation and the governor, and it's moving forward. I find this offensive. And I'm not saying smoking's good. In fact, it's terrible. You should stop smoking. And I know how hard it is. I have so many family members. My grandma smoked for 50 years. She lived in 95 somehow.
Hell of a run.
Yeah, I used to love the smell of smoke when I was a kid, so I realized, ooh, it's not so good. So you should try to stop. You shouldn't start. I want to make that very clear when I talk about this. The point is, there are people that smoke, that do the hardest jobs out there. They grab a smoke just to relieve a little bit, take a smoke break, and they're trying to add on $2 to that. The people that work the hardest don't need these taxes. How about, just a thought, tax people that have the means? And I'm not anti-rich either, but how about rich people activities? Maybe put $2 on that. So, you know.
So somebody on the text line brought up croquet. The
Croquet.
game. That's something we can tax.
100%. I'm fine with taxing croquet.
And that's bipartisan, by the way. That would bring unity to this country if we taxed croquet.
I think so. We have a lot of texts coming in. We talked about Chrissy checked in about the governor, Mike Braun, has a helipad at his house in Jasper, Indiana, so he can go to Indianapolis quicker. And then she's followed up and said, thanks for talking about that on the air. Made my day. It cost taxpayers $117,000 to make a helipad.
Oh, my God.
I mean, drive from, I don't know how far Jasper is from Indianapolis.
Far.
Okay. Make that drive and learn your state. Stop in local diners. Spend some money on the way. Get some eggs.
Wear a denim shirt so people know you're one of them. And a trucker cap.
At least pretend.
Come on now.
Putting a helicopter just spitting in their faces. A helipad at your house. On the text line case.
219 checked in, and they said, you both, Brian and I, of course, Kenzie out in Mexico. She'll be back next week, so it's just Brian and I today. 219 said, you both clearly live in Illinois. How many hot air balloons, giraffes, and caves do you think are in Indiana? You'd make no money taxing those things. I have 2 points to make here. First of all, there are plenty of caves in Indiana. Corydon, Indiana. I took a school field trip there as a child. I'm from Indiana. The Indiana Caverns. You can go splunk your heart away in Corydon, Indiana. So add a cave tax to that state. Second of all, I don't know what they've been telling you on the news. I know a lot of things are said about Chicago. There are wild giraffes running around this city at will. There's no big game hunters downtown. You go on Lower Wacker right now, there's no giraffes. I don't know what people are telling you. It's not like we have a giraffe surplus here.
He might be on to something. I did see a giraffe last night on Ashland Avenue. I did see a giraffe. More text coming in on this possible, or this tax going forward, $2 on cigarette taxes. It affects Illinois because a lot of my friends that do smoke, they drive. They spend weekends driving to Indiana for the cheap cigarettes.
Also, it affects us because of the Cold War going on between Indiana and Illinois and the fact that Indiana wants to take 30 of our counties away.
Chuck from 708 checked in. So from Illinois said, J.B. Pritzker put a tax on golf carts and pole cart rentals. I'm not a rich jerk, Chuck says from Countryside. And I forgot about that. When we did all the new laws and rules of 2025, so I've checked the stats on this. Starting January 2025, golf courses in Illinois were required to tax 6.25% on golf carts and pole rentals. There's a golf course called Four-Way Challenge Golf and Driving Range. They put this post up to their people saying, we are required to start taxing on golf carts and daily rentals. Now, they say at this time we'll include the tax in the price of the cart rental. It won't be in addition to. Don't shoot the messenger, they said in their Facebook post. Go. They sound like good people over there. Go check out that golf course.
So we were talking about, instead of taxing cigarettes, we should be taxing rich people's hobbies, which, of course, then we had to Google what rich people hobbies are because we're not exactly in that club.
Yep.
Andrew on the text line texted in from Chicago. Tax fancy mustards. Rich people have more than one type of mustard in the fridge. The more types of mustard you have, the richer you are.
Pardon me. But do you have any Grey Poupon? Remember those commercials?
I do.
The finer things in life. Happily, some are affordable, like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. Grey Poupon is so fine, it's even made with white wine. Its original French Dijon recipe adds distinctive flavor to beef, pork, and poultry, salad dressing and sauces, and of course, sandwiches. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
But of course.
Grey Poupon. It even has wine.
It even has wine.
Rich ass.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101, and it's time for the weekend Q101. Stuff going on in and around Chicagoland. Some of it's free. Some you might not be aware of. Case puts up a great blog at Q101.com with all of this. But let's do how we always do it. Let's start with the music this weekend, Case.
I'm happy to say a phenomenal weekend for live music in the city.
All right.
I got a bunch of shows I'm going to rattle off here. Of course, we've been giving away tickets to the Used. They are here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. My recommendation, if you're going tonight, it is sold out for tonight. Get there early for the opener. Football Head, they are locals. They are playing Riot Fest this year.
Nice.
They're absolutely fantastic. Speaking of locals, OK Go is at the Riv tonight. Tickets still available for that.
Love them.
And across the street, another band you like, Spirit Box, is at the Aragon this evening. Get there early for the band Low. They are going on right before Spirit Box. They are very, very good as well.
I like that band, Spirit Box. Super interesting, and love their sound.
Yes, that's at the Aragon tonight. Tomorrow night at the Aragon, Bullet for My Valentine is there.
Wow.
Also, yeah, I know. What a weekend for heavy music at the Aragon. And then also Saturday night, Q101 welcomes Ben Queller to Lincoln Hall. And our friends Save Ferris, they're at the Chop Shop on Saturday.
That's a great list. Back in the day here at Q101, Ben Queller, when he first kind of got on the scene, we had him on the show. In fact, Mancow was doing mornings back then.
Yeah.
And he came in and performed, had such a good time. He just stayed. And when I say that, I mean he squatted at Q101 in the Merchandise Mart where the building used to be. I think he was there for like 2 weeks. He just would show up every day like he was going to work.
Yeah.
He didn't stay overnight, but he did show up every day. And every day we put him on the air because he was there. And it was like, okay, when's he not going to show up? And he hung around Chicago for a couple of weeks just coming into Q101.
We had that the last time Franz Ferdinand came in here and played a lounge. This was a few years ago. Like, when you play a lounge, we're so grateful artists do it because a lot of times they're coming from a city the night before, and then obviously they have to play a concert that night. So the lounge is just this middle thing in the day that's added to their schedule. And most bands, it's very quick in and out. Franz Ferdinand, they were just here.
Yeah.
They were hanging. They were delightful. They wouldn't leave.
And you're saying that in a good way.
I love them. They were great.
Because if they wouldn't leave, you might be like, this girl, she wouldn't leave.
No. Franz Ferdinand, fantastic. Hung around for a while.
I think we take for granted how amazing the city is we live in. Sure, we have complaints about things, but when bands come here, and you don't always hear this on the air, off the air, they go, man, I am ready to go do this, get some food over here, check out the lakefront. They really talk about hanging out in Chicago, and they look forward to it on their tour. They always, every one of them says that.
I'm a fan of the city. I'll say it.
Love it.
I'm a big fan.
Love it to death.
All right, that's the music this weekend.
Which is why I'm stoked to go to Wrigley Field today on the weekend Q101 for the Cubs-Phillies game. The Cubs have had an incredible run the last week of tough teams and doing well against them, with the D-backs and the Dodgers winning the season sweep now against the Dodgers with those two games. And then the Phillies coming in, who are having a rough stretch, but the Phillies are very good. My wife from Philadelphia, she's going to wear Phillies gear to the game while I wear Cubs gear.
Well, she's a Phillies fan.
She is. She's diehard, and that's why, respect that. She didn't just move here. Now, she wears Cubs gear when we're going to a game.
Yeah, she's giant fake. Yeah.
Well, no,
she's giant phony.
No, I have brainwashed her and said, I have to put up some kind of marital law as the husband saying, when we're not at a Phillies game, you wear Cubs gear, and she's gone along with that.
Now, you live by one saying and one saying only, which is happy wife, happy life. Are you wearing Phillies gear today?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I'll take the hit on that one.
Okay, you're not wearing
She's not expecting me to wear Phillies gear. I'll be Cubs, she'll be Phillies. If you see us, maybe I'll buy you a beer if you say hello.
Please say hi to Brian. He will buy you a beer. He'll buy you a few.
Oh, man. It's supposed to possibly rain like at 1, 2, and 3 o'clock today, which sucks.
Now, what do you do about that? You go poncho?
No, I'll just go inside like a wuss in the mezzanine area and get a hot dog. It's a perfect time to get a hot dog. Now, if I wasn't going to the game, and actually I can still do this anyway, the Goonies' 40th anniversary concert is Sunday. This is hilarious and awesome because I've done this before, not for the Goonies, but at the Auditorium Theater for Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes cartoons where they have the Chicago Philharmonic play along with a cartoon.
Yes.
It's one of the coolest things ever, and they're doing that. I don't know if there's tickets left or not. I think there's a few.
Auditorium Theater for that.
Auditorium Theater.
Which is, by the way, the most underrated venue there is in the city.
Do you know that theater floats?
Okay, I don't know what that means. That sounds like when I asked you, how we're in the earth, but we go on the moon?
Okay, so my brother's a docent for the boat cruises here and gives a tour about all the architecture boat cruises. My father-in-law took it last week, and they're in the car, and my brother's telling me about the Auditorium Theater, how Chicago was built on a swamp. The city was built on a swamp, and then it built up. So that theater, the Auditorium Theater, I'm not saying it correctly because I didn't do the training like he did, but it's floating somehow because the ground under it started giving way, but they had to support it. And by the way, people in the auditorium theater that work there, hopefully don't hear this as a negative. It's fine. It's not going to collapse. But the theater is somewhat floating. I wish Mike could call my brother. I think he's out of town.
Wow. I don't know what that meant.
I'm going to text him and see if he can call by the end of the show by takeaways to explain it. I don't know if he can.
The auditorium theater where they're playing the Goonies this weekend, where I saw the National, one of my favorite concerts of all time. You're telling me that theater is floating?
Yes.
Wow.
But I'm not 100% sure on how much or...
the screenshot, the meme that gets posted where it's like the more you know, and it's like that 90s graphic with the star on it. That's how I feel right now. I just learned a really fun fact.
Let me put my number in my...
Thank you for texting on the air. Why play a song when you could text on the air? No, I'm sure we don't have like a massive hit coming up that everybody loves. Just go ahead and text right now.
There it is. There's the massive hit.
I love the verb. There we go.
Okay, maybe I'll have him on to explain. If he calls in the next 4 minutes, he's probably going to blow me off. He'll read the text tonight, and he'll call the station tonight when I'm not here.
Kevin will talk to him.
What are you taking away from today's show? 312-591-8300. Actually, takeaways from the entire week right now.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Of course, my brother left me on red.
Humiliating.
It is very much so. My brother's a docent for the architecture tours, the boat cruises, and make sure when you go down there, use those boats, the Chicago Architecture Society, CAC, because they do it for free out of the passion for the city. He does the training and all the time and effort. It's very hard to talk very positively about my brother right now. Very nice things, but I'm doing it.
Hey, but the boat tour is cool.
Oh, the boat tour is incredible. You did it, right?
I loved it.
Yeah, it's an incredible tour. And basically, I mentioned the Auditorium Theater floats where the Goonies is performing, or the Goonies, or the Chicago Philharmonic are performing to watching the movie The Goonies. In a sense, here's what happens. The Auditorium Theater in Chicago does, quote, float in a metaphorical sense. It's a massive raft foundation engineered by Adler and Mueller. It's designed to distribute the weight of the building across a large area of soft blue clay rather than relying on the conventional foundations. The foundation essentially floats on top of the clay, but it is also settled over time. That's why there's some slants in the floor. In the lobby, sometimes you see those. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, awesome.
So,
I love Architecture Corner. Keep on talking to me about the way the buildings are built. It's riveting.
Well, you just said it was very interesting.
Well, yeah.
But when I read it, it wasn't.
It was not.
When my brother does it, it's way better.
It's awesome. I love it.
But that's why you should go there and see the Goonies and the Philharmonic. It's not going to fall or tip over is what I want to try to say.
Sounds like it.
No, I love the Auditorium Theater. I've seen many shows there. Eddie Vedder shows a few years ago. Burt Kreischer. It's a great place. All right, let's get to our takeaways. 312-591-8300. What are you taking away from today's showcase? What do you got?
Rob checked in from Chicago. His takeaway, it would be a real hoot and a half to smoke some doobies and watch a delightful movie such as Friday. I couldn't agree more.
Oh, yeah, it's a knee slapper. One more takeaway, as we appreciate everybody that checked in today. First off, Tony said takeaway, Brian thinks he's blue collar. Adorable. Listen, I stand behind this console. Once upon a time, I worked at a golf course digging ditches. I did that.
Okay, but it was still a golf course.
Oh, so it was rich ass?
It was total rich ass.
Do you think the shovels automatic were robotic and just shoveled it up? No.
I don't think I know.
I put this back behind that and put some work in. Allegedly.
Okay.
Finally, 708 checked in. Takeaway. Indiana should charge its residents to climb their mountains and shoot their giraffes. All right, what do you got, Case, on the podcast?
Well, it's a loaded day on the Brian and Kenzie podcast. We have some bonus content for you. Lisa Ann Walter, the comedian and actress, she's in Abbott Elementary, and also she was in the movie The Parent Trap. She's performing at the Zanies in Rosemont this week, and we had a delightful conversation with her. That lives on the Brian and Kenzie podcast. Also, bad news for big game hunters. Brian is not a fan of what you're doing, and we will be taxing you one giraffe per kill from now on. And, of course, it is Friday in honor of the 30th anniversary of the movie Friday. That is my review this week. That lives on the Brian and Kenzie podcast.
Remember, we're here tomorrow, 8 to 10 in the morning, as we do our throwbacks to the week. And make sure for sure, put this in your phone right now, 8 o'clock Monday morning, Fest. It's your chance to qualify for a trip to Boston Calling, a loaded, stacked lineup, a free trip, VIP trip. And just for qualifying, you get one-day tickets to Riot Fest. That's all next week 8 o'clock. Put that in your phone as a reminder.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.